Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars. Don't let them end.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Geek News Now Cantina Happy Hour. I am your host, David Furr. We're glad you're here. You're joining us. It's Big Red Letter Day. This is our review of episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett.
Seven.
It's the Thank you, Debbie, for keeping me in line.
You told me to keep you in line tonight.
Right, Boba Fett's in this one.
And Boba Fett was in this one.
Woohoo!
The cameo of cameos was Boba Fett. So, with me, of course, is Debbie, to my left. She is the co-host of the MCU Mondays on Geek News Now, right here on the Geek News Now YouTube page, also on the Geek News Now Facebook page. MCU Mondays, go check it out. I'm a frequent guest. We have a lot of fun. Right next to Debbie is Chris, and Chris is the host of the MCU Mondays.
I sing the theme song.
It's great. We have a blast. We have a lot of fun.
He's always
Right below me, Cam. Cam in Focus. It's one of our YouTube contributors on Geek News Now. Go check him out. He's got a lot of really cool YouTube clips and shows. And go check out Artemis Fowl just because that's the best one ever. And we love you for it, Cam.
It's funny because he hates the content of it, but when he made that episode, it was so funny that everyone's like, "This is your best thing," and he's like, "No!"
But I hated it. No. Then down center, this way, is Peter and Wes. Okay, so both of these guys are with the Star Wars Society of San Antonio. Peter has been on our show before, I believe, second or third episode. This is the first time for Wes, so welcome you guys. Good to have you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. So, before we dive into this, I've got two little things. For starters, go check out the Geek News Now Facebook page. We are giving away here, let me show you. We are giving one of these away. Oh, that is a Razor Crest Lego set.
What a hunk of junk.
Thank you. It was my brother's. Now how do you feel? You're not getting this one. This one's mine. But you're getting you're getting this exact model. So, it's a free giveaway. All you got to do is sign up, head over to our Facebook page, check it out, and get some free Legos, for crying out loud. Who doesn't want that?
What is that thing? Pre-Empire? Looks like it's been through the Clone Wars.
That's right. Now, next thing we got to cover, we are talking spoilers. We are talking season finale of Book of Boba Fett. If you have not seen it, one, what's wrong with you? Go see it. But two, and I know people are out there, I wanted to wait till all 7 episodes were out and I'm just going to binge watch the entire thing, and that's fine. But we're talking spoilers here, so if you haven't seen it yet, you can come back and watch us on the record on YouTube, and we'll get.
This is your warning.
This is your warning. We're talking about all kinds of spoilers here, and up to and including end credit scenes. And yes, there was an end credit scene, so we will be discussing that. So, fair warning aside, Book of Boba Fett, episode 7.
Just before we start, I wanted to say, Wes's hat is awesome.
Oh,
and I didn't know if people had seen that, but I was like, is that even the Mythosaur skull in there? Look at this hat. This is great.
Oh,
nice.
It's a beautiful thing.
That's a Boba hat.
Yeah, my wife's awesome. She gets me all kinds of cool merch.
Nice.
I can vouch for that. She's awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
I guess we'll get it out of the way. So.
We got the tats going too.
Maybe.
And this arm is the dark
side.
The dark side of the Force.
And then I got
and Jar Jar on the back.
Carbonite on the inside. So
Booshnickens.
No, I got the DL-44
No, no.
blaster on the back.
Nice.
I wish.
Awesome.
Should have got Jar Jar and Carbonite.
Okay, so Book of Boba Fett episode 7. We finally get Boba Fett after 2 episodes, 98 minutes, and only 1 minute of Boba Fett in all of that 98 minutes. We finally get. Not only do we get Boba Fett, but in my opinion, this episode. This is what I wanted from the entire series. I wanted the wars. I wanted the street fights. I wanted the shootouts and the high noon showdowns and all that other stuff. This was what I wanted this show to be. This episode they just needed to stretch it out over 7 episodes because this was everything we wanted. If you haven't seen our prediction show, we did a prediction show on Tuesday night. When we're done here, go back and watch the prediction show. And there was a couple of things I know I mentioned that I was like, I've got to see this. I need to see this in this episode. And I think at least 2 of them happened. And I may have only said the 2. So, that all being said, let's start with Wes. Let's get the new guy in. Let's indoctrinate him good. What are your thoughts, Wes? Overall, just an overall thought of this one particular episode.
I have to absolutely agree with you that I mean I have some friends that were like talking mad crap in the beginning, like, come on, like it's so slow, and I'm like, in Dave we trust, right? Dave Filoni, master, right? He's the next George Lucas. So I told him, you gotta let it warm up. You can't just start off, kicking butt, and because then it has to just only go up from there. So it has to build. So this build, I had goosebumps when I saw it. Me and my son got up at 5 a.m. We watched it, of course, and the wife hadn't seen it yet. So then when I got home from work, sat her down. I was like, babe, watch this. Got goosebumps twice. She was flipping out. So yeah, it was like being kids in the sandbox again, and you brought your Rancor and I got my Boba, and we're like, yeah, let's get it.
We're playing with our toys and
awesome.
Action figures and making them fight.
That's right. That's
I
right.
actually have a Rancor toy just over there. I could always bring them on whenever you want me to. So,
I've got the vintage collection Rancor and the battle Rancor. Which one's yours, Pete?
there we go. I think it was a Disney one that I found at one of the conventions, and it's all rubber. His name is Bob. Just
Nice.
because Bob the Rancor. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you were saying, Wes. I mean, a lot of people hated the flashbacks, thought it was a slow build-up, but it's like, give it time. And I had to agree with one other friend of mine who had said, for those of us who grew up with the original trilogy, 3 years to wait in between movies is a very long time, and it's like you're getting Star Wars weekly.
Yep.
Why are you complaining?
Exactly. Now, and there's stuff on the horizon too. I believe it was announced yesterday or today. Today, was it today? May 25th. May 25th is Kenobi. Mm-hmm. And for all of us hardcore Star Wars fans, that's a red letter day. Mm-hmm. Just because that is the exact day 45 years ago that A New Hope was released to the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Hello there.
Of course, a lot of people are saying it was like it should have been May 4th. Like, oh, be quiet, you're getting.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
The 25th is the original.
Look,
Star Wars Day.
There's a difference between a meme and an anniversary. Okay.
Right.
I know that, and a lot of people even thought that because Solo was released in May of 17, I think. So it would have been the 40th anniversary. And everybody wanted, release Solo on May 25th because that's like the 40th anniversary of Star Wars. And no, can't do that. Can't even get that one right.
Oh, well.
Debbie, Thoughts?
I liked the episode. I enjoyed it a lot. My mind might have been blown just a wee bit. But yeah, I enjoyed it. There was a lot going on. I don't think I had any particular predictions in Tuesday night's show. Mine was mostly speculation and what I trolled
Hoped would
and found
happen.
on the trolled on the internet and found what most popular predictions were going to be, which none of those came true. So, which I was fine with. But
Mephisto.
Mephisto confirmed.
yeah,
He's posing as a Deveranian. Makes sense.
Chris. All right, Chris. Let's go. What you got?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff I liked overall. Like, again, I'll say I'll bring it up because everyone always seems to think if you complain about anything or mention something you didn't like, then you're like, how could you not like this show? And I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. All right. There are just things that I would have,
Done
hoped
differently.
for. And I would have liked to see way more of Slave One or whatever you want to call it. You don't even have to, I would prefer you call it Slave One, Boba Fett Starship, whatever you want, but I would like to see it in action. We saw more of it in action in The Mandalorian we did in the Book of Boba Fett. And that's just one of these things that I'm like, is this how they planned this show to go? That the Book of Boba Fett has 2 whole episodes, and I liked the content in those episodes. I liked what was happening, but at the same time, I was like, I came here for Boba Fett, and those are 2 whole episodes where I'm not even getting that. And so it was great actually in this episode to see him in the armor, fighting people and doing stuff, not getting caught in the back to tank, getting thrown around by a Wookiee. Yeah, like not out in the and which the backstory of that is fine, but like I came here for Boba Fett, and a lot of people were making fun on the internet too. It's like, oh, he's not acting like he did when you were playing action figures. And I was like, that's because when I was playing action figures, he was acting like he did in the movies. Back from the dead, assholes! Purple Rain! Yes, exactly. But so it was great to see him in this episode actually let loose. I like seeing Cad Bane. I like seeing the droids from, I think those were only in the Clone Wars.
I think they were only in the Clone Wars.
they were in Legends.
And I was going to say they
weren't in any films or anything like that. So
No.
Right.
But those are like the super droidecas, and I was waiting to see actually if they do like a slow roll grenade underneath, because they even mentioned like our blasters are blocked by the shields and our kinetic weapons are too fast. I was like, can't you just walk through those if you're close enough though? And it seems like
but what's his name? Chrysanthemum tried that and it didn't.
Yeah,
work.
and then it seemed like they have changed the shield, and that's perfectly it's been how long since then? Sure, you could have made those shields
it's
better.
legit. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff to love in this episode, especially if you weren't a huge fan of some of the others for those reasons. I think this had a lot of things you were looking for. But I don't know, if when the Rancor came out, I was like, well, yeah, of course he's got to come out, or else that's a Chekhov's gun you put on the wall. That, of course, because he was only in the one episode one time when he's like, Boba Fett has a Rancor now.
No,
I wonder if that'll come back into play, because he just as easily could have come down in Slave One and been like, ga, and like, hello, I'm fine with that.
That's on the director's cut.
Actually, what they needed was Danny Trejo riding in on the Rancor and
God.
Boba flying in with the Slave One, and
both of those things. Oh, that would be awesome.
Cam, you've been awful quiet.
I definitely would have paid money to see Danny Trejo just cutting people down
with a machete too.
Yeah, space machete.
Yeah.
So Cam, you've been awful quiet.
Yeah. I've just been listening to everybody. I enjoy hearing people discussing things. I thought it was a really good episode. Most of you kind of know already. The show as a whole has been kind of hard for me to get completely on board with. It's not a bad show by any means. It's just for me, the first 4 episodes especially, it felt like different chapters of different stories that I would have liked to have seen elsewhere. But then the last 3 episodes, really came in, and they were fantastically directed. I mean, they were just great episodes of Star Wars in general. And the finale gave me pretty much everything that I wanted to see. Like Chris said, what we wanted to see. Boba Fett in his armor, doing Boba Fett things. And it was really satisfying to see that. I like that we're kind of seeing that Mando's getting a bit more comfortable with the Darksaber. One thing I will say about Cad Bane, it feels like they didn't quite know what to do with his character, because the majority of his screen time was he walks on screen, he says some things, he reaches for his guns, he walks off screen.
Cad Bane in this series was exactly like Boba Fett was in the original trilogy.
Okay,
he was just quiet and menacing, and you knew he was bad. You knew he was like this. You didn't want to think with him, So Cad Bane was portrayed, in my opinion, perfectly, to where it's like, let's leave some mystery to this and bring him out when we need him out.
Do you think he's dead?
Do you think he's dead?
No.
Blink. Blink.
Absolutely
That happened
not.
in like
So
the Bad Batch too, didn't it?
That's
People thought it was said in that. Yeah.
There's no way that the most badass bounty hunter in the galaxy got taken out by a shank.
Look,
Right.
if
Crazier things have happened.
if they brought back Darth Maul,
Yeah.
you can just do whatever you want. We cut
Everything.
that guy in half, and he's still hanging out. So there are no sure deaths.
So,
Although,
yes, go
another
ahead.
just I sent it in the chat that we're in. It's to a link on Twitter, and someone was like, Robert Rodriguez should never touch Star Wars again. And it's just because, and I noticed this when I was watching, I don't agree with that statement, but there was one scene, and as I was watching the show, I was like, what was that? And it's when they're helping the Wookiee up, and then the guy does like a spin move and then shoots.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
that was dumb as hell. And there's a Twitter thing on it. I just sent the link.
scooter
Yeah.
guy.
The scooter
was
guy.
getting
Yeah.
on my nerves.
Which also,
Yes.
by the way, what was up with them getting cornered, pinned down, shooting, not hitting a damn person, later picking that guy up, spin move, shot,
Right.
2 people down. What
Right.
happened? What
Right.
happened between those things?
They went to the stormtrooper school of marksmanship.
He's got a
It was the
cyber eye.
spin. The spin calibrated his mod and made him a better
Eye.
shot.
He calibrated his eye. Yeah.
He was focusing on Anakin as a boy. Let's try spinning. That's a good.
That's a good trick.
I was thinking he was channeling Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope with that. spin move.
Oh yeah.
When it's like, what was that for? And I think when I rewatched it, because I ended up watching in that little Twitter thing, the guy posted it. It looks like there's a blaster bolt that kind of hits behind him. So it's like, so you just spun out of the way of a blaster bolt? Is that what happened? Okay. One way or the other, we could have just cut this little bit out, and I think it would have improved.
Well, and something else that really bothered me about the whole thing, and I told this to Luke as we're watching it. I'm like, so they're all pinned down behind this tank thing. Here comes these droidicas, and they are moving slow.
Very slow.
And it's like, at this point, you run away. Even to turn around and aim and point their blasters at whatever. It's like, at this point, you scatter and disperse and set yourself up at different points along the city. You don't stand behind that one stupid tank where he knows that you are for the rest of the thing. And then on top of that, they sit there and blast and blast and blast and blast and blast. And obviously it's not doing anything. And it's like, at what point do you say, okay, this isn't working. We need to find something else. We need to do something else.
I think it's kind of like in The Mandalorian, where he would just take off walking and Grogu starts following him, and you just think to yourself, there's no way this dude's keeping pace. And then they just enter the village together, and it's like, there's no way. But in the whatever we didn't see, he kept pace. So I think it's the same thing with these giant things. It's like, they're moving so slow, but then as soon as they're running away, it's like coming right around the corner. I was like, how did it get to the end of the street?
By the time they got to the end of the street, those things might have turned around.
I felt like Pelly and them on the what do you call it? The
Rickshaw.
rickshaw.
The
I felt
rickshaw.
like they were just going in a circle. You know what I
They
mean?
did. They took 2 lefts
Right?
at one point when they were
Right?
running through. Can't this thing go any faster? Like, yeah. And then it takes a left, and I was like, okay. And then it takes another left, and I was like, okay. Now it's down the other street. Like, it just has
You're
to
going in
turn.
a circle.
Right. So we're gonna take another left, and we're right there. There's the robot. That's exactly what happened.
And then they're like, there's not going to be anything left of this city, like if this thing goes bad. And I was like, okay, you screwed up a couple streets and some stuff, but when they show a big view of that city, it's huge. There's everything that's down there. There's all the stuff that's up on those cliffs. I was like, you screwed up your part of town.
Yeah.
Like, that's everything else is pretty much fine.
To kind of jump a little bit ahead on that was how everybody at the end was like, "Oh, thank you, Boba Fett." And like, I'm pretty sure some residents are going to be a little upset because, well, there's a couple.
Thank you for screwing up my house,
They-
Boba.
You
know,
saved
there-
us.
there's
We were
some-
fine with them trading spice. We didn't
Hey,
care
what do you
about
wanna
that.
What do you want to
My
bet his
street's
Rancor
messed
ate
up.
somebody too? You know what I mean? Like quick
Oh,
snack,
yeah.
running through the city. Oh, hey.
Now,
don't-
okay, he did eat one of the. He did eat somebody.
You ate a
And-
pike.
He ate one of the pikes,
Lizard.
and the whole time
Yeah.
he's running around smashing
Yeah,
things
pike.
and throwing things. I thought when he picked up the one pike and he pulled him up, and Boba shot him in his hand, and then he threw him like that. That was amazing. But when he picked that one up and he ate him, and it was exactly like Return of the Jedi, I was just like, that's
Yeah,
what
that
I
was
wanted. Eat him.
Yep.
There was another scene where I feel like their special effects goofed because it was like something was moving in slow motion almost until it got hit, and then it went like full in. But there was so much action happening. And it's like
It was
just
like,
to-
Well,
Nobody cares.
that's something I've noticed a lot in this show. In every episode, there were a couple of shots where you can tell that the frame rate got jacked down a little
Yeah, I was
bit.
like, what did you do?
And I'm like, but why? Like, well, like surely that didn't escape the eyes of the editors. They did that on purpose. And I'm just like, why?
So the movie could happen.
Yeah, so then they needed that extra half a second in those shots in order to make the runtime.
Right.
That's the movie biz.
Okay, so one question, and I pose this to everybody: Grogu's decision, because we got a lot of that in the previous episode, in episode 6, and Luke said, "Okay, one or the other," and obviously Grogu has now chosen the Mandalorian lifestyle. I know Debbie, I know you were expecting this, and this may have been one of your calls.
Yeah.
He's gonna take the armor and he's gonna come back with the Mando. So I mean, they're not
That
gonna get.
N1 starfighter was crappily designed, or like that for like, come on, it's a bubble bat. What did you think was going to go in there?
Mhm. It
What's
was
he
all
going to
there.
choose? Come on.
He's gonna freeze people and stick them back there. He'll just collect bounties one at a time. Instead
And
of,
you just see their head, the
Just
frozen
just the
head.
heads. Yeah, just the heads.
It does have a fear factor to it, I guess. It's trying to intimidate other people. It's like, I'd hunt you down right now, but as you can see,
I can bring you in.
I'm
I can
full
bring you in headless, or I can bring you in headed.
I prefer headless because then I just actually collect the heads. Actually, it's just the head. So you can go in, it's just a head.
now,
Make sure you
now,
put it on ice.
Got a cam tono full of heads here.
now, my thought on the whole Grogu thing was I kind of saw it coming, just because, and not because of the N1, like you said, Chris, but I'm looking at it from a practical standpoint, to where
Money.
yes, Grogu is a cash cow.
Yeah.
Grogu is a lovely little marketing instrument, and Disney's not going to say, okay, well, we're done with the Grogu story in first 2 seasons, so now we're going to do something else. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to be like, Grogu everything! He's going to be in every... It wouldn't surprise me at all if he showed up in Kenobi. It honestly wouldn't. Just because he's a cash cow. We got to keep him in because he sells merchandise.
He's the face of the franchise right now.
He really is. He really is. I mean, you can't. I wear Star Wars shirts. I wear Star Wars shirts all the time. Even on MCU Mondays, I'm wearing Star Wars shirts. I wore that one there, Peter. I wore that one on Tuesday night.
There you go.
So anyway, but it's hard to find a Star Wars shirt now without him on it.
Well,
mean-
it's funny. It's funny because when
Old school.
the Mandalorian season 1 came out, after the first couple of episodes, we didn't have any at the time, Baby Yoda merch. Not until spring, and I think that was pretty wise on Favreau and Filoni's part to kind of keep them hidden.
Because that was a big
Because
surprise. That was the shock ending of episode 1.
Yeah, because if not, I mean, as much as we would have loved to have him a couple years ago, it's like they timed it right, and it kept the want for him.
They knew what they were
desire to have him.
doing.
So by the time when when they first got it, when they first toys and plushies started coming out, everybody wanted one, and now he's everywhere, literally everywhere, and that's fine.
We got the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. He'll be in a Super Bowl ad, I'm sure.
More than
It
likely.
wouldn't surprise me at all. Even if it's go watch all episodes of Book of Boba Fett now streaming on Disney Plus. He'll be there.
Whee!
Yeah, exactly. And even when I'm watching that, and I'm cynical as I've ever been watching it, going, they're just using him because he's adorable. I'm also at the same time going, that is adorable.
That's adorable.
I'm
And
just
I
like
hate him
smiling.
for
I'm
it.
like, look at that little guy. I can't even be so mad. Like if they just completely go overboard with it, and frankly, I think there was too much of this in the Book of Boba Fett. You know what I mean? Like that should have been over on the Mandalorian side. That should have been like episodes 1 and 2. Even if that technically took place during this, you could have said, I'm going to do that, and then gone back to Boba Fett, and then have the Mandalorian come back, and then we'll catch up with that when the next season of the Mandalorian.
You and I are on the exact same wavelength, because I had this exact same discussion with a friend of mine last night, and I was like, hey, what they should have done was just had one episode where they approached Din Djarin and said, hey, we need you to come help. And he's like, okay, sure, fine, whatever. You didn't need a whole episode around him. He said, okay, fine, whatever, but I got to go take care of this thing first. And then the first 2 episodes of season 3 of The Mandalorian are him going to the armor, getting that set up, and then going to go see Grogu with Luke and all that other stuff. And that would have been, and then where he is after that. Oh, he's about to go back and fight with Boba Fett at the season finale of Book of Boba Fett. That would have worked.
Well, to kind of touch on that, if you look at this in terms of like an actual book, a lot of times in novels they'll have different chapters devoted to a side character, sometimes 2 or 3 chapters devoted to whatever that character's doing at that particular point before they rejoin the regular cast. But I'm not sure which YouTuber it was. I think it may have been Screen Crush or someone else who had said they should just call this not Mandalorian or Boba Fett, just call it Star Wars, the weekly series.
Yeah.
This way you can kind of see where everything's going on at any given point or time.
It does, and that's the main problem that I think people had with the fact. Like, I don't think anyone's mad at saying more Mando and more Grogu. Like, even I said, like, I liked the content that was there. But again, you call this the Book of Boba Fett. I'm here for a character that we haven't really seen expand. And even when they did that type of thing in The Mandalorian, they would have... The Mandalorian would still be a part of the episode, Like, even if there's a guest star like Boba Fett or Bo-Katan, that's still the Mandalorian interacting with them. The story is still focused around that. These episodes of Book of Boba Fett, it was not about Boba Fett at all.
It was
not even as like a yeah.
I feel like they owe us 2 more episodes.
And with Slave One space combat, get out there, hunt somebody down, take them out. I want to see more of that ship in action, man.
Take down some of those Pike Syndicate ships that are bringing all those troops in
as
they're landing.
I did try. Speaking of the Pikes, I did think it was kind of interesting that they just gave up and ran. They said, "Okay, we're out." It's like, "Okay, you're a criminal syndicate here. The Hutts don't even want to have anything to do with you, and then suddenly you're just going to up and run." I thought that was interesting that they would just back away so easily.
It was kind of written like an old Western, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
The bad guy, the town all comes together, and the bad guy gets scared because they're outnumbered or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree that it was kind of strange, so I want to see more with that. But
yeah,
Well,
even
here's
the go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean even the final shootout there with Cad Bane and Boba. I mean that's straight out of the Western, because even you hear a couple of cicadas somewhere in the background at one point, and I was like,
I was waiting for the high noon bell.
We needed some spurs hitting the They needed to be walking around in spurs, so it sounded
Clink.
like
Clink. Yeah. Well, they actually had that effect on the Mando when he walked in the episode The Marshal. When he first walks
Right.
into that bar, you can hear like as if he was wearing spurs. And I was like, where is that even
Right.
coming from? Because he's not. He's a space man.
Mm.
But I loved it. I was like, yeah. So absolutely, that whole feeling is very much a part of this. They put a lot of that into play. But
Well, Star Wars as a whole, a lot of it does borrow from Western tropes. Even if you look at the very beginning, I mean, Luke's on a farm. There's Han as the space cowboy. There's so many Western influences. I mean, you can just pick one. I mean, and you can see where they're coming from. I mean, Lucas was heavily influenced by Westerns as a kid.
so. I had
Very lightsaber.
I had a friend of mine that used to say, and one of his favorite cartoon shows in the '80s was Brave Star. I don't know if you ever watched that, but if you
I
haven't,
never even heard of it.
go check it out. It's an amazing show. It's all about the planet New Texas, and you've got Marshall Brave Star that keeps everybody in line, and he's always said that that's exactly what would happen in space. It would be a cowboy. It would be a Western theme in space. If we were to ever colonize space and move out, that's exactly how it would be. It would be like the Wild Wild West again. So go check out Brave
Firefly.
Star. It's great.
Firefly.
Yeah. The problem with Firefly, and this is my only
is
qualm I have
Fox is an idiot and they aired the episodes out of order and then canceled it.
no, not that.
That's part of the problem.
No, my problem with Firefly is that you had a whole ship full of Han Solos. And let's face it, there can only be one Han Solo. You had a whole ship full of the cocky. I only need one Han Solo. I don't need a ship
That'll
full
be
of
another episode there, David.
Okay.
We can talk then.
Well, here's my theory on the Boba Fett missing in 2 episodes. He was off learning how to ride his Rancor. He was
I've
in
heard that.
training. And to go off that theory, I truly believe he'll pop back up in Mando because they fought so well together. I mean, it was like they were in sync when they were battling against the Pikes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, in the expanded universe, Boba Fett does become the Mandalore, the leader of all the Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still a fan of a lot of that stuff. And in fact, getting ready for the Book of Boba Fett, I reread the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy, which is a great trilogy that has to do with him getting out of the Sarlacc pit. Him and Dengar and this chick go off to Quat Drive Yards, which is where he originally got his ship from. And they end up stopping this guy from destroying the entire thing to keep it out of the hands of the Empire or the Rebellion. He doesn't really care. He doesn't want either side to have it. He kind of stops that from happening. The entire time, though, there's flashbacks to during like the Empire Strikes Back and during Star Wars: A New Hope of stuff that Boba Fett was out doing, like capturing bounties, destroying the Bounty Hunters Guild from within just by joining it and being the most ruthless badass out there, just by being the best and using people however he could just to accomplish his goals. So seeing him like this, I understand that they're going a different direction with the character and they're trying to make him, but there were times when I was still like, this guy's not being ruthless enough. Now, there were other times when he like takes out the biker gang. I'm like, that's more of what I'm looking for. And when he finally stabs Cad Bane in the chest, I'm like, yes, do that. And a big moment for me that I actually really enjoyed was when he sent that Twi'lek out to negotiate. Do you remember? And he's like, and the guy's all excited because he's like, I'll write down my offer. And I was like, dude, he better have written down like jack shit. And like,
No.
And then he does. And I was just like, yes, that's Boba Fett right
Boba.
there.
I honestly was expecting him to walk out there and goes, I, Boba Fett, currently say, go piss up a rope.
I was waiting for like a Celebrity Jeopardy thing, and
His
the
words.
wager is boobs.
Yeah.
And aped it.
But what I kind of wondered, because everybody keeps saying about how how Mando fit into that one particular episode. Maybe because this is one theory I heard when she starts talking about the mythosaur, how They used to ride them eons ago. But then again, you see Boba on a rent car, and I'm thinking maybe you're going to see him playing a bigger part somewhere in trying to recapture Mandalore. Even though he wants nothing to do with that, he's got his own little thing going now. But I think that's a little bit of some possible foreshadowing.
I would
of
hope
what maybe
so.
you may see in the future.
Well, especially for what him and Ferrick was talking there towards the end and what he says.
Yeah.
Which
And-
also leads me to believe he's going to be on the Mandalorian.
In Legends, how he became Mandalore, it was something he didn't want to do for a long time too. He had to kind of be convinced into it. He wasn't the traditional Mandalorian. They made fun of him for actually in that his armor wasn't Beskar. He was using Durasteel plates.
Durasteel. I still think it's Durasteel. I don't think that they have him in Beskar. Because how do you get a dent with
taking
Beskar?
some shots. I don't know what happened. Yeah, but they do also they did use alloys with like Beskar and Durasteel too, because they ran out, because obviously the Empire strip mine took all that, so they had to make do. So not everyone's plates are, but it certainly seemed like, especially when he was out there fighting with Mando, that he was taking just as many shots. Thank goodness they all hit the plates. How lucky are these guys?
Well,
I have a pet peeve.
Go for
Him
it.
and Mando are taking all those shots. Doesn't really affect them. Cad shoots him once and he's flat on his ass.
Got
what
him
the hell?
in between the plates.
He knows where to aim.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I thought it was really good that Cad Bane actually did outdraw him.
Yeah.
I mean, he even though he already had his weapon in hand and he was ready to go, all he had to do was like that, and Cad had to unholster and come in. But
And we know from Return of the Jedi he's got a fast draw. That's one of his lines in that movie, is just raising his blaster.
I have a pet peeve about the armor. The armor ended up too clean after taking all those shots. Boba's armor did.
I think he had it repainted. I think
you mean during the battle.
Yeah, I'm talking about during the battle. Like after the battle's over, he's there, and you're like, okay, there should be way more pockmarks or blast
scarring.
Something.
That's what I said the other week when they were talking about the Wookiee
carbon scoring,
punching Boba Fett in the face with the like spiked knuckle dusters that are electric. He punches Boba Fett in his unarmored face, and Boba Fett doesn't have a mark on him. I'm like, what's your face made out of Beskar? What is this?
Right.
It's called plot armor.
He had just got out of the Bacta tank. He still had some of that Bacta juice on him, so it was just like an instant heal.
Oh yeah, that's a Wolverine healing factor there. As long as he's covered in Bacta juice, he'll be fine.
It's been in that tank for weeks, tripping on Bacta, dreaming about Tuscans. You got a job to do. Also, for a crime lord, doesn't it seem like he doesn't want to do crimes?
Oh my gosh,
you're acting way more like a sheriff than a crime lord. I'm going to stop the spice trade, and I'm going to stop. I was like, why don't you take over?
Even in episode 1, he called himself a crime lord. It's like, okay, well, what have you done so far that's criminal?
Exactly. I told Luke, I was like, he's not really a crime lord. He's more like the mayor.
Yeah,
he just cleaned up the town.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a crime lord. That's a good person. Crime implies I'm a bad guy, but I don't know.
Before Boba Fett came into my life, I was addicted to spice. Now since he cleaned up the town.
Some of the stakes were raised because obviously, Madame Garza, she's gone, and I was not expecting her to die.
Well, what was her point? What was her point for being in the show? Honestly,
she was hot.
I'm not sure. I mean, she's probably, she's probably like going back to the old West thing, the one who runs the
prostitute,
the saloon,
the madam,
the Wild West,
the madam.
Well, I suppose, but what purpose did she serve to the story in the end?
She's eye candy.
Nothing.
Boba didn't even hang out with her, really,
He went to see her twice.
Yeah,
also,
he exchanged 2 lines with her, and then it was over.
Filling up the helmets with coins is about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's like, just do a credit transfer. Remember how we used to do that with the technology that we all have? I have a bank account. You have the ability to transfer credits to me. This is not a new thing. You don't need to fill my freaking helmet up Might I go
But-
service
but,
your helmet? What the hell does that mean?
Hey.
Are you trying to proposition me? Like,
That's the new slang.
come on,
Oh,
man.
she's going to service.
Put a
his
rub on that
helmet.
helmet, eh?
No, all I could think of
Spit
whenever I
shine.
heard that was I don't know if any of you have seen Epic Movie back when those spoof movies were really popular. Yeah, the girl's shining the doorknob and she's like, "Oh, he told me he wanted his knob polished."
No, it was there was another one too. It was Spy Hard that it was. I think it was Spy Hard, where it was a Leslie Nielsen movie, but
Yeah.
she was. Oh, he wanted me to lick all the chrome off his bumper. And it-
Innuendo.
Sorry,
Oh.
Debbie. I'm sorry, Debbie. I apologize. We got dirty for a minute.
Okay.
Everybody out there watching.
She agrees. I didn't hear any protests.
Okay.
She
Rest
had
in
that
peace-
look about her.
Rest
Do I
in
look
peace,
like I'm
Gamorrean guard.
offended?
She works in the medical field. She has thick skin. Trust me.
And I worked in an automotive factory for 15 years, so I've heard it all.
Peter,
I've seen some things, man.
Drive shaft.
I think you said something. The Gamorreans. We lost the
Yeah.
Gamorrean.
Oh, that was
Uh,
Shred.
Okay, well,
I kinda
guess
like
you
them.
could- yeah, I guess pigs don't fly. It's like, yeah, well,
too soon. Too soon.
Yeah,
Too soon, man. That's not right.
yeah. Well, I kind of figured I was kind of hoping they would have got stuck out at the end, but it's like, yeah, they're just fodder.
Well, and honestly too, I thought we had seen the end of Black Chrysanthemum as well. Am I saying that right?
Oh,
Santos.
Santos.
I call him Santos. for short.
Santos. Yeah, okay.
I don't know if I think I'm the only one who may have caught this. Was when they give him the melon, and it's like, hey, how come he gets the melon? And it's like, yeah, that's a callback to Chewie. As how come Chewie didn't get the medal? I don't know if anybody else caught that.
I did.
I
saw
hadn't.
it.
No.
Yeah,
I did.
I was like, okay, he doesn't get a medal, but he gets a melon.
I the end sequence kind of bothered me because you had the whole he gets the melon and they're kind of turned around and we're laughing at things and blah 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 and I'm like, all right, this is kind of cheesy. Chris is back.
It was
I mean,
too much of a Sesame Street moment at that time.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Like
yes, exactly.
that's the way I kind of felt about it too. But it's Disney and
Well,
And
I
they
mean,
wanna-
regarding the ending, he goes through all of this, to establish himself as, the daimyo of, Mos Espa, whatever. But then at the end of it, he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe this isn't for me. It's
Then
like, well,
why did you do it?
exactly. It's like, well, like, why did you have us trudge through 7 episodes of this just to have him say, oh, maybe not.
I'll go join up the Mando and we'll take Slave One and go do some bounty hunting.
It's called a story arc.
Well, no, I understand that.
It's a chapter, kind of a chapter of his life. I mean, we got all those flashbacks. Being with the Tuscans as long as he was, 5 years or whatever it was, taught him that he could be different. He didn't want to be a criminal anymore. He wants to have his own family, tribe, whatever you want to call it, clan. Which, again, that's why he's going to end up with Mando on the Mando show.
Yeah, I think also to touch on what you're saying, Debbie, is I think with him, he's probably going to be like an older brother, mentor figure to Din. And I also kind of think that I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the last of him. I'm pretty sure he's going to show up somewhere down the line. But as for what, well, who's to say? But
because
I'm
we
pretty
know
sure.
who's going to take over Mos Espa.
I think what we're going to see with this is the same thing that we saw with Gree and Kara in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. They're there, they're doing their thing, and there might be 2 or 3 episodes per season to where they pop in to help out, kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that's where we're going to see Boba. He won't be like completely immersed and involved with the Mandalorian, but he's going to pop in and be it's our guest cameo. We've got Tamora Morrison back,
Well, speaking of people popping in, I don't know about y'all, but I am so glad that we did not get some kind of gratuitous, OT trilogy character cameo at the end of the series.
I wasn't I agree. I mean, because everybody kept saying that you're going to
Fett
see
is
a de-aged Harrison Ford coming in. It's like, no,
I didn't buy
Why?
into that. Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Like what? I don't know. I'm sure that there would be people who'd be like, mind blown, best moment in Star Wars ever. But it's like if you would had Han Solo come in at the end of it just to say some kind of one liner or something, to be like, hey, I'm in this show too. Like what would that have served to the story?
I would have liked to see the other bounty hunters from like.
I was going to say that.
I was expecting
That's what I was
that.
hoping for.
IG-88 or Dengar or somebody.
I think
Boss.
we discussed that a
Well,
little
Tons of
bit.
Trandoshans,
Oh my
no boss.
Yeah.
I think we kind of
But
discussed that in the 6th episode show, and I think, Debbie, we touched on this to where it was like, okay, in this episode we had Cad Bane, we had Cobb Vanth, and then the episode before that we had Ahsoka, and we had Luke, and we had Grogu, and we had the Mandalorian, and it's like, all right, there's a bit too much of it's like the old Joel Schumacher Batman movies. It's like, how many villains can we cram into one movie? How many big names can we cram into one build?
Yeah,
thing?
Dave Filoni's just going through his notes like, okay, I'll use that character, that character, that character, and that character.
Oh, Dave Filoni was looking at it going, hey guys, don't forget, I made these characters. These characters
you see,
are here
Ahsoka, I did that.
That's mine. Cad Bane.
It would have been too expected. Like when
See
at the end
Boba
of
Fett.
I feel like.
Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, at the end of season 2, when Luke came out, nobody saw that coming, and it was a very special moment. If you would have brought in Han, or mainly Han, it would have been like, okay, that we kind of saw that one coming, and it's like, I'm glad they didn't go that route. As much as I like Han Solo, I'm glad that didn't happen.
I think part of the reason why. Oh, I'm sorry, Debbie.
I was just going to say, I agree with the comment down below. That's who I was hoping to see, even if it was just a little bit, or her voice, one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that part of the reason why Luke showing up at the end of Mandalorian season 2 worked so well was because the context for that had already been set up in, I think it was like the 1 or 2 episodes prior, where Grogu was on that Jedi shrine on Tython and was basically calling out to anybody who would listen, basically. And of course, Luke is the head honcho.
He's kind of like the Last Jedi, isn't he?
They also set it up. They also set it up in that same episode, like Cam was just saying. He reaches out to someone. Who shows up? Well, Boba Fett shows up, but how does he show up? First, we have his iconic ship do a pass around, and you're thinking, dude, I know what ship that is. Tell me who's going to get out of that ship. Tell me it's who I want it to be. It must be who I want it to be. And then it is Boba Fett. Now, he has to get his armor back, and there's a little thing, but then full-on gloriousness of Boba Fett killing hordes of stormtroopers. Then, 2 episodes later, one X-Wing. What's one X-Wing going to do? Fly around the side. And everyone's like, I know who shows up in an X-Wing, dude.
I know who's that is.
I know who could be showing. And then it's Luke, and you're like, could it be Luke? And then it's Luke, and he's kicking ass. And you're like, yeah!
I've got a theory.
Yeah.
So they are making Boba Fett like Kevin Bacon. So you're going to see, and I feel like that's why BD was in this. I feel like R5, they're bringing all these things, they're tying in all these universes because Boba Fett is Kevin Bacon.
He's going to be the 6 degrees of separation.
Yes.
6 degrees of fat.
Between the whole universe.
But I'm not. I didn't really think about this. But when the X-Wing lands there in Pelly's hangar, it's R2 and R5. They get a little bit of a reunion.
Yeah.
Right.
Droid's got a bad motivator.
It's like, hey R2, what have you been up to? Well,
if I tell you, I'd have to kill you.
Well, I just hope they don't make this too much like Kevin Bacon, because then we'll get like a Star-Lord cameo.
I've believe it or not, some fan theory is that Star Wars and Marvel could coexist in the same.
I hope
I've
not.
heard stuff like that.
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
The end
In
of
an
Mandalorian
episode of
season
Robot
3,
Chicken.
Mando's
Wes,
gonna get
action
dusted
figure
because
theater.
Thanos snapped his fingers.
Here's the thing.
Nobody
Long
saw it
time
coming.
ago.
Nobody saw it coming.
No, nobody saw it, and for good reason.
Sometimes people don't see things coming because it's terror.
When I was a kid growing up, we'd always, we played with our action. My brother and I would play with our action figures, and I had GI Joes, and he had the Super Friends, and I mean, he had a Hall of Justice, and we had all kinds of cool stuff, and we would just play, GI Joe versus Super Friends, and all this. But when we played Star Wars, it was strictly Star Wars. We did not mix that with anything. The only time we mixed it was because I never had a Han Solo action figure, and I had an Indiana Jones action figure. I was like, oh, all right, whatever, they're the same guy. So I used Indiana Jones as my Han Solo. Other than that, you can't mix that. You cannot mix Star Wars with something else. It doesn't work.
Action figure theater.
So I'm yeah, and I'm gonna have to disagree with you because I actually had the GI Joe spaceship and I had the Millennium Falcon. So there was some GI Joe Star Wars
Crossplay.
Yeah.
There's a
X-Men,
wormhole.
No, if it's not space, if it wasn't a space GI Joe though, it didn't really fit, and it wasn't like I had X-Men thrown in there. That was later in life when I met Pete, and then.
Well, we do
Yeah.
have the Worlds in Between Worlds from Rebels,
Oh yeah, and
so
and
it can happen.
and we've got the Loki's multiverse going on with Marvel too. So sure,
And if
why
There you
not?
go.
If you've ever watched Parks and Recreation, there's an episode where Patton Oswalt gives up to give a speech or filibuster, and this is before the sequel trilogy come out. So he's like, and this is my the way I would have Boba Fett, his gloved hand reaching out of the maw of the sand beast, and he just explains, and thus having the reality stone, this would intersect the timelines of Star Wars and Marvel. And at that point, Obi-Wan Kenobi said, "You are my master, but I've been And he just has. There's actually like a 10-minute long thing where he just goes beat by beat on like
he
connecting.
rants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hilarious. So look up Patton Oswalt, Parks and Recreation, Star Wars, and you'll find that.
It's amazing.
Was anybody else curious if Omega was going to get mentioned or brought up or show up?
I was
Omega.
wondering.
Omega.
My
No.
name's
Omega?
Omega.
I'm glad they didn't touch it.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I am too. I'm glad that they didn't they didn't try to shoehorn that in there. I mean, I didn't really like Bad Batch at all, actually. And I think that if they tried to, force some kind of connection there with that, I feel like it would have just been way too gratuitous and way too on the nose. And I like that, the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, but like the main reason that these shows work so well is because there's cameos and there's connections to other stories and whatnot, but they are very much their own thing. And to try and make too many connections, it just wouldn't make the show feel right anymore.
That's what I'm saying about the whole. We've got how many characters can we cram into this thing? At this point, you had Cad Bane in it, you had Boba Fett and the Pikes and everything else. Don't overdo it. If you overdo it, it becomes oversaturated and then it's no fun.
Yeah.
I think at some point, maybe during Bad Batch season 2 or 3, you may have the Boba meeting Omega, or that's just my opinion. Or if not, somewhere down the line. But that's even depending if Omega's even still alive at this point.
Yeah.
But I think at some point their paths may cross. Of course, that's going to be an awkward meeting. It's like, I'm your sister.
Well, again,
I was kind of getting the Lilo and Stitch vibe, from Boba there for a little while, like Ohana family. Yeah,
Nobody
family,
gets left behind.
Well, that's what Debbie
that's
wants.
why I mentioned it, because I agree. If she would have showed up in the first season, I'd have been like, okay, this feels forced. But being that possibly she's family, I mean, he's kind of got that vibe going now. He's older, wiser, like wants to keep family around, I guess.
was gonna say also in Legends, or the expanded universe, one of the arcs of Boba Fett, something that helps him reconnect with Mandalorians and with clones, is the fact that his body starts going through clone degradation, as in like it starts falling apart, and the only people that he can get cures from are clones that are still around, which blows his mind because he's like, no, they're set to grow at twice their rate of a rate, like they'd be 100 and some years old by now, dead as dust, but they have gotten treatment that like treats the stuff made by Tonwi and some other scientists, which they have to change around at this point. But so if they use any of that stuff from Legends, that could very much her interacting with Boba Fett, or maybe she contains, because she's the only other direct clone like him, that could be a way to bring them together. There's definitely stuff that could happen there, but I'm also glad it didn't happen here.
Not yet. At
Yeah,
least.
not yet.
Agreed.
That's what was it? What was the line? That's a different story for another time. So-
Yeah, look, the giant chicken's Boba Fett.
Sorry.
Boba Fett's the freaking chicken.
Great kid, don't get penisy.
Yeah, Mom, we won the space battle. Yeah, I'm calling like I said. No, I gotta go. We got other stuff to do. All right, bye.
Oh yeah, the latest comment. I don't know how to say that person's name,
Hang on.
but it's a Chris speaking the words of Karen Travis. Yeah, she helped write a lot of those books that had Mandalorians and Boba Fett in them, and yeah, in that whole series, and that's where Han and Leia's son Jason starts turning the dark side, become Darth Caedus, and his twin sister Jaina learns from Boba Fett how to defeat Jedi, or trains under Boba Fett to help her gain the skills necessary to beat her own brother. Again, twins and Skywalkers and Boba Fett, legends, baby. I don't consider them legends. That's like a lot. That's the way I look at stuff still. I'm like, I hope they could still find a way to bring some of this to life.
It's an alternate timeline.
Well, we'll see, because there's a lot of Thrawn stuff possibility happening, and they didn't do a terrible job of bringing Thrawn into Rebels. There was some stuff that I was like, no, those trees are supposed to actually hold lizards that create force bubbles, or basically areas where you can't use the force. But I was like, if you take that out, yeah. And I think that would be a nice thing to introduce. But I'm like, if you still get the general gist of Thrawn and that's just not there, you still have done a great thing. So I think there's some big possibilities for that character, and a lot of the stories that he's in, along with like, I know not everyone's favorite character from Legends, but Admiral Dela.
Oh, yes.
I know not everyone's favorite, but she's a redhead firebrand, that just constantly shows up and is like, I'm throwing a fleet at you. And the New Republic's like, where did this come from?
Might as well throw out the big name that everybody wants to see. We want to see Mara Jade. Everybody wants Mara.
Well, I'm just terrified also of like what Disney would do to that character necessarily. Like, I would love to see Mara Jade. I'm afraid though that you're going to give me something that's just in name only, because she started out as an Emperor's Hand assassin. Now that could get pretty dark, and they don't seem to be willing. Like, even with Boba Fett, I was like, this should be darker. There should be, but I don't know. But yeah, Mara Jade, huge fan base support for that. But again, if you bring that character out of Legends to use, and then you remake it in the way that you'd prefer to see it, as opposed to the way that the character's been loved for however many years, you're probably going to get people who are a fan of that who are going to be pissed off. Now, anyone who didn't know that, I never read, like, if you never read the Star Wars books and this is all just new to you, you probably couldn't give a crap. So it's a challenge to do things like that.
So back to Book of Boba Fett. We'll stop chasing rabbits now, I promise. Or we've chased that one long enough. How's that? So the end credit scene. We had an end credit scene in this one. Something that's typical of Marvel. Now I'm guessing it's just typical of
everything.
Disney. We had I just
Cobb Vanth.
thank you.
You're welcome.
My
Corn on the
train-
Cobb Vanth.
my train left the station and I wasn't on it. Cobb Vanth, and he's not only in the back of the tank, but now we've got the
roboticist or the
modification, modifier, yeah, out there, and he's going after it. So, is this going to be one of those things to where? Because honestly, I thought Cobb survived. That was one of the things that I said in the prediction. Was that exactly, hit him in the shoulder. In our prediction episode, that's why I was like, "Oh, we'll see Cobb in this episode. We'll see him. He'll come and show up with all the townsfolk because he didn't die." And now they're looking at, "Oh, he's laying dead in the sand of blah 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 Freetown," and I'm like, "They killed him? What?"
Or I think they said they gunned him down.
They killed him so that they could bring. I have a theory behind why they're doing that. I mean, we have a little taste of cyborgs, but I really feel like they want a cybernetic cowboy. You know what I mean?
And I think that was a huge miss with the sequel trilogy, is the fact that, like, in the first one, Finn gets sliced up the back by a lightsaber, and I was like, here's your opportunity, make this guy a cyborg, and then have that as like another side, because that's something Obi-Wan says about Darth Vader. He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil. Show that people can be good even if they're cyborgs. Like, it doesn't that's not what makes someone evil, it's their choices. And the only way you could be an evil cyborg is if you decide to do, or maybe if there's more programming than actual human mind in there. But that was the thing about Grievous and Vader, is that they're both, it's their mind, they're the ones making the choices, they just happen to also be cyborgs. So it's like, this is your opportunity to show that you can be a cyborg and still be a good guy. And I think that's exactly what they could be setting up with Cobb Vanth.
I think he's going to get a Winter Soldier's arm.
This
is the grumpy old guy with the Winter Soldier arm.
I honestly
see Rocket Raccoon coming in saying, "I'm going to need that arm."
Yeah. See, just more ways that Marvel can cross over with Star Wars.
There you go.
And honestly, I can see, because they had talked about, there was this this whole show that they had planned, and it was Rangers of the Republic, and it kind of died, and it kind of went away after what's her name, Cara Dune. Gina Carano's contract expired. I'm not going to say they did not fire her. That was put out plainly. Her contract just expired, and they just did not renew it. But why would that not work now with Cobb Vanth taking the lead on that?
That's what I'm
because I've seen RoboCop.
Well, not RoboCop. Forget RoboCop.
Just kidding.
This will be Brave Star. This is my Brave Star right here. He's a cybernetic.
That would also free
Cowboy.
up Boba Fett to leave Mos Espa, because that's something I don't like him tied down to Mos Espa. I want him out in his ship, going places, doing stuff.
He will with Mando. I keep telling you guys.
I don't see that happening
in one.
When he's also the daimyo of his territories in most, whatever.
Cobb Vanth will take over.
Cobb
well,
Vanth
hopefully, but to me, then that just seems like we wasted a whole bunch of time doing all this stuff, when if that's what you're going to do in the first place.
No.
I don't know. We could have not had Boba Fett take over this town, so he could be a crime lord that's not a crime lord.
Yeah, like honestly,
it's
at
called
that point,
world building.
But that's not good world building.
Let's see. At that point, it kind of feels like the story ends, and it's like, oh, it was all just a dream. That never happened.
Oh, yeah. Dallas. Flashbacks of Dallas. Oh boy.
We'll see.
I hope so.
Yeah, honestly, as much as I kind of turn my nose up whenever a show or a movie or whatever can't commit to a character death, at the same time, it's like I love Cobb Vanth. I thought he was an awesome character, and I think that Timothy Olyphant just has so much charisma, and I'm honestly, however they decide to use his character in the future, I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it.
Cobb Vanth takes down an Olyphant. That still only counts as one.
My old gaffer would have a thing or two to say if he could see me now.
Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
That's okay.
Who's got the damn reality gem?
Yeah, we did Star Wars with Marvel Mondays or MCU Mondays, so I wasn't on that show, but I caught quite a bit of it. And
Yeah, we went off the rails.
We're talking about Doctor Strange and multiverses, so naturally,
Star
anything's
Wars.
up
Why
for
not?
grabs.
It's 'cause
And people
Star
in the
Wars
comments are
is,
saying things. I like to include them.
Star Wars is king. You can relate Star Wars to anything. So Cobb Vanth. I honestly, like I said, I think we're gonna get a thing. And you know, you were talking about the whole crime lord thing. A friend of mine, and Grant, if you're watching, great, good to have you. But if you're not, you're gonna watch the recording later. You got to mention. But he put out the theory that, or he put out what he thought the show was trying to do was, you know, it was trying to be about the scum and villainy, the crime syndicates within Tatooine, and it just didn't come off that way. And his thought was that if they had done, you know, all these separate little stories with Boba Fett kind of being the tie to all of them,
That would have been
and
awesome.
then had the last episode be what it was with the, you know, him cleaning up Mos Espa and riding the Rancor and fighting the droidekas, that would have been a show worth watching. But and even then, you don't have to call it Book of Boba Fett, and that way people don't get pissed off when for 98 minutes Boba Fett's not in it. So it can be a.
He was training.
98 minutes. That's an entire Disney movie.
Oh, somebody wants to come talk about Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're over an hour.
Well,
They are over
you
an hour.
you can go ahead and bring them in. I got to put my kid to bed anyway.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, I do have to head out though. So it was good talking to you guys.
Very
Okay,
good,
everyone.
Cam. Very good. We'll see you next
Take
week.
care.
All
Peace
right,
out.
take it easy.
Bye.
Nice to meet you. Take it easy.
Okay, we'll see if they jump in. I'm guessing this is one of your buddies, Peter, because
Let's see.
let's see what Strangelove the Doctor. Okay, Strangelove the Doctor. Are you Doctor Strangelove, or are you like Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Atomic Bomb?
Strange love, the Doctor.
Strangelove. Oh. Here we go.
Hey
How's it
guys
going?
and gals, I guess. Sorry, Debbie.
That's all right. I'm one of the guys.
That's right. You have worked in the automotive industry, so that would kind of work. But yeah, jumping right into it because I said I wanted to talk about Cobb Vanth.
Go for it.
He was introduced to us in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy. In all honesty, at the end of reading those 3 books, I literally said I want to take those books, straight to Chuck Wendig, throw them in his face, and say thank you for wasting my time. And Cobb Vanth,
Chuck Wendig is a waste of time, but go on.
Chris, I feel like we're brothers. At the very end of the trilogy, the only thing that came out of those books was Cobb Vanth. And now we have like this epic character who shows up in The Mandalorian, and we're like, yeah, you know that like the
Leonardo
name
DiCaprio.
there. That's like, yeah,
Leonardo.
yeah. That's it. That was like,
Son of a
woohoo! It's Cobb Vanth, and he's got the Mando's the Boba Fett armor, and we know that. So that was a very interesting thing that they brought him back in Mandalorian, and I was very surprised by that. And I was very happy to see him again in the Book of Boba Fett because it only made sense that he would be in there because hey, it's like
It's
Tatooine.
all on Tatooine. It's all on one planet.
It's such a small planet, right?
like Chris said, it didn't really go. He didn't go anywhere. He was just there. The only time we went off planet was when Mando flew to go see Grogu,
when
and
we
Luke.
followed a different character.
Yeah, when we followed a different character.
When we abandoned the titular character, and look, all right, we covered that.
That you know why? Because he wasn't leaving Tatooine, and they were like, we want to show some different stuff off.
They're the ones writing it. You can't.
Too
He
much
has a
sand.
spaceship that they recovered in the show. Whatever.
Too
Oh,
much
but it got eaten
sand,
by
too
a
much
Sarlacc.
sand. But the thing about Cobb Vanth is that when you take a look, like when you take two steps back, and you look at the show, you look at where it's coming from, you look at where things are going with Disney. there's got to be some kind of line that's been drawn quite a while back. And some people in particular, and oops, hold on.
Uh-oh.
We're not going to name anyone here or anything like that. But all I'm saying is, some people have an idea and a clue, who are part of a team that works on stories, or I should say, maybe part of a group, and they've got a line, they've got a narrative going. But now it's got me wondering, where are we going with this? Because it's like such a small, tiny character that, where are we going with this? So either it's going to be like super interesting and is going to blow all of our collective minds, um, or not. But either way, we're never going to see it coming. That's for sure.
my thought on the whole book of Boba Fett is that this is the Boba Fett movie that never got made. When they were talking, when they were making movies, they had we're gonna do Solo, and we're gonna do all these
Kenobi
origin story. Yeah, Kenobi was one. I think there was even talk about Yoda having one.
Yeah.
So
that was at like Star Wars Day. They announced all these things. They're like, we're gonna have a Boba Fett movie. People were like, woo! We're gonna have a Kenobi movie. People were like, woo! And then like The Last Jedi came out and Solo did, and then Bob Iger, who was in charge of Disney at the time, said the buck stops with me. Which you've never heard him say anything like that when it comes to Marvel. When it comes to Marvel, Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige's the head of Marvel. He's the same thing for Marvel that Kathleen Kennedy is for Star Wars. So Bob Iger never came out and said, look, the buck stops here with me on Marvel. He did say that about Star Wars during the time of the sequel trilogy. So like whatever they had planned at that point, they brushed the slate clean and they said, we're going to try Mandalorian now as a show. That will help us boost our Disney Plus platform that we're going to start having, which we're going to have everything Disney under that, and people will have to tune in there to see it. And that will allow us to have something that's coming out regularly, and we can test the waters with where we're going to take Star Wars. And what happened? They had Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni come in, make The Mandalorian. Everyone basically was like, thank you for making The Mandalorian.
Thank you for saving Star Wars.
And they're like, so we're going from this is our first foot forward into where we're going now. So, yes, I know that there is a group that is very concerned with the story and all of that, but I think like their priorities and the priorities of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are not exactly the exact same thing. I think there's some things that they each want to do, and frankly, I'm a fan of what Favreau and Filoni have been doing, way more so than whatever that supposed group has been supposedly doing, which if you can't even keep one trilogy straight, I don't have a lot of faith in you. And people are like, the expanded universe is crap. You love that. It doesn't even fit together. I was like, every book starts out with the 200 book timeline of where it takes place in the universe. So if your one trilogy can't do it, sorry if I'm the one who's like, come on. Come on.
That's why they're using The Mandalorian. They're trying to they're trying to have the sequel trilogy make sense through actions that are happening within The Mandalorian and Boba Fett and shoot, even possibly Kenobi at this point.
But see, that's scary, David, because what you're saying, what it entails, and it kind of came to my mind when I was reading the latest Tron books by Tim Zahn. It's like as you're reading them, you forget from where he's coming and where he's going and what happens to him and what potentially should be happening to him by the end of the books. I don't want to be spoiling anyone here who hasn't read them. If you haven't, do so. They are excellent and definitely worth a read. And they totally fit within the Legends universe as well, so that's awesome. But all that to say that with all these stories interconnecting together and all that stuff, we have to remember some characters don't show up in the sequel movies. And some other characters actually do show up, and the implication of some of them not showing up and the other characters showing up actually comes together into like a very bad situation resolving itself. So I'm afraid that some people are going to be like taken astray and by shock when certain things happen, but it's either they're bound to happen in one way or another, or I don't know, like they'll come up with something crazy again, because the story group doesn't really tell a narrative to be honest, Chris. I think they're more supervising things and making sure that things don't get too mangled up, though they really messed up with that at the very beginning of the High Republic already. But anyways, we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett. So
Right. Which I think for the most part was very much enjoyed by everyone, especially
majority of
people
the
that were liking The Mandalorian. Some of those people were like, sweet, Mandalorian episodes.
I think,
But
well, and I
really-
think, Chris, I think a lot of people had the same mentality that you did, to where they liked those episodes. There was a lot of cool stuff that happened in those episodes. They were just out of place for the show that they were in. They didn't fit. You know, Book of Boba Fett. We want Boba Fett. Mandalorian, in this particular case, I know he's the big draw, but he's a side character in this one. Boba Fett's our main draw.
I agree with what Chris was saying. It's like they were testing the waters to see what the fans want, and it's kind of odd that no one seems to be listening to really what the fans want. But at the same time, they are, because the other point that Chris was making is that he loves what Filoni and Favreau have been doing. And I think it's very defining of a generation. And for those of you who remember the very first trailer of Star Wars Episode 1, it's like every generation has its own legend and everything like that. And those fans grew up with the prequels. They grew up with the Clone Wars, and they grew up with the Filoniverse. And all the Filoniverse fans are flipping out right now, and they're super happy. But for people who, like me and Chris, got a more classical education, we're having a bit of issues. You know, it's like there's a man, there's a legend, there's a Mandalorian called Boba Fett out there. And now it's like there's a wuss. There's someone who can't even make any decisions, or doesn't make any like tactical proper decision. And it's like, it's really weird. It's okay to villainify a character, but what we see in all the shows, and even in this last one, and I mean, this is spoilers, right, guys?
Yep,
Obviously.
absolutely.
Okay.
That first
So-
of the show.
When they decide to stay in Ms. Garshra's remnants of the bar there, it's like, first of all, if you're Boba Fett, the real Boba Fett that we know from Legends, you're going to go and you're going to plant explosives on those rooftops where you know snipers are going to be showing up later, because when they do, beep, 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 boom, that's it, you got rid of them. Second of all, that place has a freaking roof. Get the high ground. Stop getting down in the center like firing pit where everybody's shooting at you. Just like shoot from the roof.
The same thing happened in season 1 of The Mandalorian. They all got stuck in that house, and they had all the dark troopers shooting at them. And what did they do? Oh, let's go to the sewers. Go to the high ground. Kenobi said it. I have the high ground. That's the.
Someone missed the lesson apparently.
You have
But yeah,
rocket packs.
there's too
Yeah.
many issues with the characters that are offending like all of us, and I mean like those. We're not even gonna talk about the Muz Vespa gang, and especially after seeing like that super
embarrassing.
high speeder in the last episode, where Shenek is like,
Yeah.
flying.
I do
over.
want to know what kind of sunscreen that chick uses. Because she's like even whiter than me and
Desert planet
hanging out
with
on a
two
planet
suns.
with two suns.
And I want to point
I'm
out,
like, this
did
woman's
you
never
guys-
been outside.
Did you guys notice
back
how
to
they
Juice.
fixed that mistake from the very first episode, where they actually saw like her landing as she was running on the rooftop, and you see her in sneakers, and then in this last episode, as she lands the jump, it's like boot.
Those speeders, why? Whatever.
Because
And then
Because-
when you literally see Fennec Shand hop on a speeder, I was like, see, this is a speeder that's functional. It can actually speed places.
and it looks like it belongs there. That looks
Yeah,
like
as
it
opposed
belongs
to-
on a desert planet versus a hipster.
You would never be
moped
able
in
to
the
take
middle of
those
the
out from
city.
under the cloth that you'd have to keep them under constantly, because wind, sand, your paint job, done. Very quickly that would be, especially if you're driving around in it. And how do you have enough money to pay for all this stuff when you apparently don't even have jobs? And then, since you're a bunch of people that don't have jobs and don't care for the people who are in your neighborhood, as you were established when we were introduced to you, why now are you suddenly like, we need to defend the people? We're here for the people. And I was like, what are you? What are you? Are you a group of street toughs who don't care about anything? Or are you like the protectors of this neighborhood? Or what? You're not characters. You're just shiny scooters and muscle, but you're overdeveloped.
They're Power
overdeveloped
Rangers.
thugs. You're underdeveloped characters. Pick your poison. I don't care which one it is. And
You
like,
done?
who cares? Do I want to see them
Is
ever
your
again?
rant-
Do I care? I don't care. No, it's
It-
it's never over. It's just one long rant between different.
It's long
live
rants
streams.
and MCU Mondays, Geek News Now.
Whatever I have
he
to be
does it all the time. It's a beautiful
Curious
thing.
about at the time.
Whatever.
I was doing
happens
another
to
one
you.
about Eternals this Monday.
Oh,
So-
Lord.
David, if
But
you
like, I can
allow-
rant about that and still say I liked the show. But like, so, but
If-
there's
if
things
you
where I was
allow
like,
I agree
I'm
with you,
done
David.
without that.
I agree with you.
I'd like to share like a particular screenshot if you want to bring it into the
I'm
for everyone to see. So take a look at the left of the end of Mando. What do you see? That
Darksaber.
is the dark saber. It's just lying on the ground there, and I mean, I'm gonna. There's no sound, so you guys don't need to worry about like any YouTube problems. When he gets
Copyright.
up, and when he runs away, you'll notice he doesn't pick it up. See, it's like just running away without picking it up. This is very
So-
scary to me.
So that droid is now technically the leader of the Mandalorians. No, wait, the Rancor beat the droid. So now the Rancor is the leader of the Mandalorians.
is the leader of the Mandalorians and can wield the dark saber.
by right. But it took off its
So-
helmet. Ah!
Ultimately, we're pretty certain that he's gonna have picked it up or something like that. But that was kind of a visual like anxiety for me to watch during the show. I was like, is he really gonna drop it and forget about it, and then he's just gonna go like in Mendo season 3 episode 2? It's like,
I gotta
oh
go back.
shoot!
What did I? Oh, I lost that.
Where
Where
did I
lose
drop that?
Oh,
That was important.
I put that down somewhere. Hang on a minute. I'll
And then
think
someone
about it.
digs a hole over on the Skywalker Ranch, and there's like 3 lightsabers down there, and it's like, what the hell is all this?
Somebody's been littering the desert again.
Yeah. And I mean, that's another deception from the show, like as a whole. It's the fact that the evilest gang is the Pikes. Another one of like pick of the Filoniverse, and it's not like the actual Hutt consortium or syndicate that would be in that region of the Outer Rim. I mean, why did we have to go there? Why couldn't we stick to the Hutt? The Hutt seemed like a formidable enemy all on its own.
And why did they start out with the Hutts just to switch it over? Like none of them have any idea what's going on. And we never saw any conflict resolution between what happened with the Hutts and the Pikes. It's just like, oh, the Pikes have taken over now because Jabba died. And it's like, and you guys are just fine with that? Oh, apparently they're really bad and really scary. Except Boba Fett beat them after having all the other crime families turn against him. Which it was another thing. I was just like, there's so much that happened in this show that was just like, all they did this for was so that they could have this in the final episode. Like this entire episode that happened was just so that they could have this turn around.
Bless you.
Oh, all of the
Bless
families coming together and agreeing not to turn against him was just so that they could have him turn against him. Hey, here's a rancor that's been delivered to you by the Hutts that are leaving for some reason, just so we can have a rancor in the final episode. And
A Boba Fett ridden rancor. I mean, that was a
which
pretty cool
also
effect.
that calls
And-
back to the first time he was introduced, which was in the
Holiday
holiday
special.
special, and he's riding a
Yep.
giant thing with actually the Mandalorian's rifle. And that was the thing I was going to mention earlier when you were talking about Boba Fett was originally going to be a movie, Kenobi was originally going to be a movie. Well, they slashed that. They started with the Mandalorian, and I think a lot of the ideas they had for Boba Fett they put into this other character. Not all of them. I'm not saying Grogu and Boba Fett were supposed to be a thing, but like a lot of the Darksaber possibly, and these big arcs for a character that is a Mandalorian could have gone to Boba Fett. Now they went to this guy, and there's no going back on that. And so they have to make Boba Fett into an even different character. And they're trying to make both these guys good guys. When Boba Fett, I really like him in way more of a gray area.
Yeah, he needs to be the
Anti-hero.
He needs to be the Venom character.
And he should
Yeah.
be scary. He's the
I'm
only
protecting the
one.
neighborhood, but I'm still eating people's brains.
Exactly. He's the only one that talked back to Vader.
Yeah.
Ever. Anyone else that talked back to Vader got killed, and he's just like, he's no good to be dead. You know, he's like mouthing off to Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is fine
putting it up with it.
Yeah, and he's like, we'll pay you if the thing goes wrong. Because with Lando, hey, that wasn't our deal. I just remade the deal. All right, deal with it. Pray I don't alter it any further. But Boba Fett, he's just like, we'll pay you. All right, you're awesome, and we respect what you do. No disintegrations, but you're a badass.
I think that had to do with the fact that and fan theory, Vader, being Anakin, grew up with the clones, and he knew that Boba was a clone, and there was some love there for just because of who he was and what he was. There you go.
And that's obviously a fan theory because at that time when they shot the original trilogy, the whole Mandalorian culture
existed.
wasn't necessarily even a thing. Again, Mandalorians only exist because of Boba Fett. So if you're like, he's not a Mandalorian, and blah, 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 it's like the only reason that exists because he was a badass in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Okay? That's why you have Mandalorians at all. You're welcome. That's from him. And so I like to like that's why he was my favorite character too. And the books and stuff, but also just in the movies. He is scary. He's the one bounty hunter. Like Han Solo does this amazing trick because he knows about like the Imperial practices because he trained in the Imperial Academy. So he's like, standard procedure. They're going to dump their trash and we'll just drift away. That's a great plan and it works, but not on Boba Fett. And like that right there, he's like, okay, boom. He's like a step ahead. And so the entire Empire Strikes Back, he's shooting at Luke. He's taking away Han Solo. He's arguing with Darth Vader. This is an awesome character. It's just weird to see him.
I'm upset we didn't have more disintegration in these.
It's weird to see him going soft.
We go soft in our old age. We all do. Yeah, that was a line they put in there. And I was like,
well, that makes sense.
But he does he go soft? Because then what does he do? He whips out his gaffy stick and punch, jab in the chest. Like, that's very soft of you. You know, it's like, I want to see more of this other side come back.
And that was actually very...
I think that was kind of a way of him getting rid of his past because, like I said when I was on here a couple of weeks ago, you're looking at a character who's had to deal with a lot of loss. He's lost his dad. He lost... his armor, he lost a part of himself. He thought, he's had to deal with a lot of these things, and this is a way of kind of reinventing himself. And for him killing off Cad Bane, that was the final link to say, I'm done with my past. I'm ready to move forward.
Okay, everybody, take a deep breath. Whew.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I've got a byway segment that we can go on, David.
We're running about an hour and a half, which was, and Debbie is being very good at keeping me in check. I don't like to do the marathons anymore, but I will do this. This is shameless plug time. If you have a shameless plug that you want to plug, now is the time. Debbie, you got anything?
MCU Mondays, me and Chris.
MCU Mondays.
That was a terrible Tuscan call.
Shameless plug.
I'm with Star Wars Society of San Antonio, but we also do capscrusaders.org. Look us up. We do a lot of Marvel.
Cool. Peter?
Star Wars Society of San Antonio. We got a lot of great things coming up this year. Plus, me and Wes also work on action figure theater on Facebook groups.
Very cool. Very cool. Chris, shameless plug?
MCU Mondays, of course. But also you can find me doing random stuff that I do on my YouTube channel. It's a Vase Productions. Look, I'm wearing a cartoon of myself on my shirt. That's me waving. Okay. It's a Vase Productions. We have fun.
Seb, got anything?
Well, since you ask, I'm going to show off my super awesome Star Wars on Direct shirt. just look us up. We've been doing podcasts since 2001. And I really want to say congratulations to all 83 shows who actually were part of this year's Star Wars Fan Podcast Day,
That's
which
right.
was on February 7th. And there's still a few shows coming out this week. So listen, keep on listening, and keep on being passionate, because that's what matters.
Cool. And mine, again, geeknewsnow.net. Go check out. We got a lot of cool articles over there. Go check us out on Facebook. Hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube. Don't forget, we are giving one of these away. This is a Lego Razor Crest. Go check out our Facebook page. Sign up. Get entered. This thing's huge. This isn't the little microfighter thing. This is the full on in your face thing. So go check it out. Geek News Now. And we will see you all next week.
She's never seen Star Wars. Ted, the only people in the universe who haven't seen Star Wars are the characters in Star Wars, and that's because